Welcome to today's reading from the Krishna book. We're reading Delivery of the Message of Krishna to the Gopis. Happy Ekadashi, everyone. Uddhav was attracted by the attitude of the Gopis because they were completely attached to Krishna, and he was inspired by the Gopis' anxiety for Krishna. He offered them his respectful obeisances and composed songs in praise of their transcendental qualities as follows. Among all the living entities who have accepted the human form of life, the Gopis are super excellently successful in their mission. Their thought is eternally absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna. Great sages and we ourselves also try to be absorbed in meditation on the lotus feet of Krishna, but the Gopis, having lovingly accepted the Lord, are automatically accustomed to this and do not depend on any yogic practice. The conclusion is that one who has attained the Gopis' condition of life does not have to take birth as Lord Brahma, or be born in a Brahman family, or be initiated as a Brahman. Shri Uddhav confirmed Lord Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita that one who takes shelter of him for the right purpose, be that person a Shudra, a woman, or a member of a low-grade family, will attain the highest goal of life. The Gopis have set the standard of devotion for the whole world. One who follows in the footsteps of the Gopis by constantly thinking of Krishna can attain the highest perfectional stage of spiritual life. The Gopis were born not of any highly cultured family, but of cowherd men. Yet they developed the highest love of Krishna, who is the Super Soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supreme Brahman. For self-realization or godly realization, there is no need to take birth in a high family. The only thing needed is development of ecstatic love of God. For achieving perfection in Krishna consciousness, no qualification is required other than to be constantly engaged in the loving service of Krishna, the supreme nectar, the reservoir of all pleasure. The effect of taking up Krishna consciousness is just like that of drinking nectar. With or without one's knowledge, it will act. The active principle of Krishna consciousness will equally manifest itself everywhere. It does not matter how and where one has taken his birth. Krishna will bestow his benediction upon anyone who takes to Krishna consciousness without any doubt. Uddhav continued. The supreme benediction attained by the Gopis, in spite of their being born in the families of cowherd men, was never attained even by the goddess of fortune herself, and certainly not by the denizens of heaven. Though the bodily scent of women there is exactly like the scent of the lotus. The Gopis are so fortunate that during the Rasa Leela, Krishna personally embraced them with his arms. Certainly it is not possible for any women in the three worlds to achieve this except the Gopis. Therefore I wish to take birth as one of the plants or creepers in Vrindavan who are so fortunate that the Gopis trample them. The Gopis have so lovingly served Krishna, Mukunda himself, the giver of liberation, who is searched after by great sages and saintly persons. For his sake they left everything, their families, their children, their friends, their homes and all worldly connections. Uddhav appreciated the exalted position of the Gopis and wished to fall down and take the dust of their feet on his head. Yet he dared not to ask the Gopis to offer the dust from their feet. Perhaps they would not be agreeable. Therefore, to have his head smeared with dust of the Gopis' feet without their knowledge, he desired to become only an insignificant clump of grass or herbs in the land of Vrindavan. The Gopis were so much attracted to Krishna that when they heard the vibration of his flute, they instantly left their homes, families, children, honor, and feminine bashfulness and ran toward the place where Krishna was standing. They did not consider whether they were passing over the road or through the jungles. Imperceptibly, the dust of the feet was bestowed on small grasses and herbs of Vrindavan. Not daring to place the dust of the Gopi's feet on his own head, In this life, Uddhav inspired to have a future birth in Vrindavan in the possession of a clump of grass or herbs. He would then be able to have the dust of the gopis' feet. Uddhav appreciated the extraordinary fortune of the gopis who were relieved of all material pangs and anxieties by placing on their beautiful bodies the lotus feet of Krishna, which are worshipped not only by the goddess of fortune but by such exalted demigods as Brahma and Lord Shiva, and which great yogis meditate upon within their hearts. Thus Uddhav prayed to be constantly honored by the dust from the lotus feet of the gopis, whose chanting of Lord Krishna's transcendental pastimes has become celebrated all over 3 worlds. After living in Vrindavan for some time, Uddhav desired to go back to Krishna, and he begged permission to leave from Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. He had a farewell meeting with the gopis, and taking permission from them also, he mounted his chariot to start for Mathura. When Uddhav was about to leave, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, headed by Maharaj Nand and Yashoda, came to bid him goodbye and presented him with various kinds of valuable goods secured in Vrindavan. They expressed their feelings with tears in their eyes due to intense attachment for Krishna. All of them desired a benediction from Uddhava. They desired to always remember the glorious activities of Krishna and wanted their minds to be always fixed upon his lotus feet, their words to be always engaged in glorifying him, and their bodies to be always engaged in bowing down to him, constantly remembering him. This prayer of the inhabitants of Vrindavan is the super excellent type of realization. The method is very simple: to fix the mind always on the lotus feet of Krishna, to talk always of Krishna without passing on any other subject matter, and to engage the body in Krishna's service constantly. Especially in this human form of life, one should engage his life, resources, words, and intelligence for the service of the Lord. Only such activities can elevate a human being to the highest level of perfection. This is the verdict of all the authorities. The inhabitants of Vrindavan said, "By the will of Supreme Authority and according to the results of our work, we may take our birth anywhere. It doesn't matter where we are born, but our only prayer is that we may simply be engaged in Krishna consciousness. A pure devotee of Lord Krishna never desires to be promoted to the heavenly planets, or even to Vaikuntha or Golok Vrindavan, because he has no desire for his own personal satisfaction. A pure devotee regards heaven and hell to be of an equal level. Without Krishna, heaven is hell, and with Krishna, hell is heaven." When Uddhava had been sufficiently honored and worshipped by the pure devotees of Vrindavan, he returned to Mathura to his master Krishna. After offering respects by bowing down to Krishna and Balram, he described the wonderful devotional service of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Vasudev, Krishna's father, and Ugrasen, Krishna's grandfather, all the gifts given by the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 47th chapter of Krishna, delivery of the message of Krishna to the gopis. Chapter 48, Krishna pleases his devotees. For days together, Krishna heard from Uddhav all the details of his visit to Vrindavan, especially the condition of his father and mother, and the gopis and the cowherd boys. Lord Krishna was fully satisfied that Uddhav was able to solace them by his instructions and by the message delivered to them. Lord Krishna then decided to go to the house of Kubja, the hunchback woman who had pleased him by offering him sandalwood pulp when he was entering the city of Mathura. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna always tries to please his devotees as much as the devotees try to please Krishna. As the devotees always think of Krishna within their hearts, Krishna also thinks of his devotees within himself. When Kubja was converted into a beautiful society girl, she wanted Krishna to come to her place so that she could try to receive and worship him in her own way. Society girls generally try to satisfy their clients by offering their bodies for the men to enjoy, but this society girl, Kubja, was actually captivated by the lust to satisfy her senses with Krishna. When Krishna desired to go to the house of Kubja, he certainly had no desire for sense gratification. By supplying the sandalwood pulp to Krishna, Kubja had already satisfied his senses. On the plea of her sense gratification, however, he decided to go to her house, not actually for sense gratification, but to turn her into a pure devotee. Krishna is always served by many thousands of goddesses of fortune. Therefore, he has no need to satisfy his senses by going to a society girl. But because he is kind to everyone, he decided to go there. It is said that the moon does not withhold its shining from the courtyard of a crooked person. Similarly, Krishna's transcendental mercy is never denied to anyone who has rendered service unto him, whether through lust, anger, fear, or pure devotion. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that if one wants to serve Krishna and at the same time wants to satisfy his own lusty desires, Krishna will handle the situation so that the devotee forgets his lusty desires and becomes fully purified and constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. To fulfill his promise, Krishna along with Uddhav went to the house of Kubja, who was very eager to get Krishna for the satisfaction of her lusty desires. When Krishna reached her house, he saw that it was completely decorated in a way to excite the lusty desires of a man. This suggests that there were many nude pictures, on top of which were canopies and flags embroidered with pearl necklaces, along with comfortable beds and cushioned chairs. The rooms were provided with flower garlands and were nicely scented with incense and sprinkled with scented water, and the rooms were illuminated with nice lamps. When Kubja saw that Krishna had come to her house to fulfill his promise, she immediately got up from her chair to receive him cordially. Accompanied by her many girlfriends, she began to talk with him with great respect and honor. After honoring him a nice place to sit, she worshipped Krishna in a manner just suitable to her position. Uddhav was similarly received by Kubja and her girlfriends, but he did not want to sit on an equal level with Krishna, and thus he simply sat down on the floor. As one usually does in such situations, Krishna entered the bedroom of Kubja without wasting time. In the meantime, Kubja took her bath and smeared her body with the sandalwood pulp and dressed her with nice garments, valuable jewelry, ornaments, and flower garlands. After chewing betel nut and other intoxicating eatables and spraying herself with the scents, she appeared before Krishna. Her smiling glance and moving eyebrows were full of feminine bashfulness as she stood gracefully before Lord Krishna, who is known as Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune. When Krishna saw Kubja hesitating to come before him, he immediately caught hold of her hand, which was decorated with bangles. With great affection, he dragged her near him and made her sit by his side. Simply by having previously supplied pulp of sandalwood to the Supreme Personality of God, Kubja became free from all sinful reactions and eligible to enjoy with him. She then took Krishna's lotus feet and put them on her body, which were burning with the blazing fire of lust. By smelling the fragrance of Krishna's feet, she was immediately relieved of all lusty desires and thus allowed to embrace Krishna with her arms and mitigate her long-cherished visitor in her house. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that one must be free of all material sinful reactions before one can engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord. Simply by supplying sandalwood pulp to Krishna, Kubja was thus rewarded. She was not trained to worship Krishna in any other way. Therefore, she wanted to satisfy him by her profession. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that Lord can be worshipped even by one's profession, if it is sincerely offered for the pleasure of the Lord. Kubja told Krishna, "My dear friend, kindly remain with me at least for a few days and enjoy with me. My dear lotus-eyed friend, I cannot leave you immediately. Please grant me your request." As stated in the Vedic versions, The Supreme Personality of Godhead has multi-potencies. According to expert opinion, Kubja represented the Bhu Shakti potency of Krishna, just as Srimati Radharani represents his Chit Shakti potency. Although Kubja requested Krishna to remain with her for some days, Krishna politely impressed her that it was not possible for him to stay. Krishna visits this material world occasionally, whereas his connection with the spiritual world is eternal. Krishna is always present either in Vaikuntha planets or in the Golok Vrindavan planet. The technical term for his presence in the spiritual world is Aprakat Leela. Okay, so we'll continue the reading tomorrow. So Krishna satisfies the desires of everyone. So it's very important to have right desires in our minds, and we can only pray to Krishna to give us the right desires, because on our own we are not capable of having the right desires. So I will continue from here on tomorrow. Thank you both Shamita and Narayan Keshav Prabhu for joining me. Have a nice day. Hare Krishna.